しました。
是您在录影带里头说，日本军队是要你去做否认的工作。
就是对一位在花样年华的一个少女，因为被骗去要去当护士，结果呢，她的青春年华就从此消失了。那她未来的晚年是如此的凄惨。
这个是有白有8个多月9个月就回来休这38天就死掉了。那如果说你们在里面，你们想要就说不接客，或者说要逃跑，有没有办法？不行的，没有办法。都被看守住了。
房子盖長長的啦。ルマンメイさんが連行された慰安所は海南島の三亜地区にありました。彼女は高雄から日本海軍の軍艦でここまで連れてこられたといいます。
Esmeralda, bele conta fila fale, o insa japonês ira bahasoro abo, hori ba estraga.
People who did what they did to you. It was those are the people who fooled us. And took us and took our clothes. We were so innocent, and then we were taken to bed. My parents will not allow me to go. First of all, we worked in Morocco. We had to work very hard. We had to cut the woods. We had to bring the timber sometimes to the beach to bring the houses. Secondly, us, the women, we would be brought into the house. Our names were called Nonamanis. Nonamanis is a name that they call for the orphan women in Singapore. Those Japanese women, those Japanese soldiers, they will rape us. We were not treated so bad. So now we're requesting for responsibility, for compensation. We were raised by the parents, but we were treated so bad by Japanese men. We did not come here because we wanted to see Japan.
And sitting furthest is Mrs. Jan Rafa Hearn.
On the March the 1st, the Japanese troops landed in Java. And my whole life from then onwards was shattered. He ran the thought over my body, starting at the neck, right down my body, right up to my legs, and just playing with me like a cat would do with a mouse, until my whole body was just total fear, until he eventually brutally raped me. I thought he would never stop.
Now, after that first instance, were you raped again?
Well, I didn't know what to do. I ran to the bathroom, and I thought I'd just try to wash away all the dirt, all the shame, just wash it away, wash it away. And then eventually, of course, I was dragged out again of the room, dragged back to my bedroom. There was a whole line of Japanese waiting, and the terror started all over again.
One thing that he could never endure as a woman, the pleasure of sexual intercourse with her husbands. If you remind me all the time of all the hundreds of times you were possibly raped by the Japanese, that always comes into your mind. The Asian women camp is an insult. We don't want charity. We want proper, acknowledged money, compensation money from the government, because this way the government is still not taking any responsibility for the atrocities that they did to us during the war.
And is it your expert opinion, Professor Kelshoven, that Article 3 had become part of customary international law at that time.
It has become part of customary law together with the whole of the conventions as block.
国際法学者のカルス・ホーベン証人は、当時のハーグ条約では個人の賠償請求権が認められていたといいますが、日本の2人のアミカス・キュリエはこれまでの戦後保障裁判では請求が棄却されていると述べました。
Your Honors, I am sure that I, like you, are just overwhelmed by the evidence, by the voices. My heart is beating now because I'm thinking back to some of the testimony I heard. I think there was official government involvement, either via ministries or the army. But how were they involved? They were involved, and I wish I was going to argue this very subtle case about I'm going to put A and B together, and there was some aiding and abetting going along among the majority of the accused. But I can't, because the evidence spoke for itself. We have actors. We have actors and institutionalizers. We have people who acted to set up the policy. Well, if it was a policy, are we really saying that the only person in all of Japan who didn't know about this policy was the Supreme Commander? Why hide it from him? I believe he knew, or he certainly should have known, that Emperor Hirohito might use many justifications for the roads to the comfort station. They all lead to slavery and rape, and they all lead him to your judicial wisdom, which means a pronouncement of guilt. Thank you very much.
Japanese military and civilian officials led, planned, organized, and brought about the establishment of facilities for sexual slavery, also called comfort stations, in various parts of the Philippines.
I stayed in that place for a year. Yes, for a year. I was abused sometimes by 2 men, sometimes 3, even 4. They take turns in abusing me. How can someone possibly bear such abuse? So I just cried.
Bahay na Pula, or Red House.
ルソン島マパニケ村にある赤い家は日本軍による集団強姦の現場です。フィリピンからはトマサ・サリノグさんのように慰安婦にされた人だけではなく、集団強姦の被害者も法廷に参加しました。マパニケ事件の証拠は去年見つかりました。
Exhibit KK shows Getty Order, 2nd Tank Division, Operations Order Number 8246, dated November 22, 1944, to purge Mapanique of elements of the anti-Japanese Filipinos on November 23, 1944.
We will now hear closing arguments or the concluding speech by the co-chief prosecutors. Who will proceed first? Ms. Dogopal, please, you may proceed.
Your Honors, all of us having sat in this hall over the last few days must feel humbled by the demonstration of bravery and commitment that the survivors of military sexual slavery have displayed. The cowardice of the Japanese government stands in stark contrast to the courage of the women. The government of Japan has not had the strength of will to admit honestly and openly the extent of the atrocities committed by the previous government. The testimony of the expert witnesses, the former soldiers, as well as documentary evidence demonstrates that the system of military sexual slavery was put into place by officials of the Japanese military to further its war effort. As such, it was a deliberate government policy, and therefore all acts associated with it are attributable to the government of Japan. that this trial is being conducted in a gender-sensitive manner, and it is important that a gender analysis be applied to the facts as well as to the law. In addition, Your Honors, we would argue that critical race theory also be applied to the facts of this case. Your Honors must find the state of Japan responsible for all acts associated with military sexual slavery and hold Japan responsible for making full reparations, paying constitution, and giving compensation and giving satisfaction. Thank you, Your Honors.
Jadi mereka itu menganggap dia barang aja, dia menggunakan barang semaunya dia, kasar, dan jadi menganggap juga nyampu itu bukan manusia. Kalau dari wanita dan dari saya tidak tahu, kalau karena itu saya kalau itu jangan dibuka ya, tapi ya.
Professional opinion that state takes responsibility.
Yes, I want to connect with your points to say if the state takes responsibility, how that will affect the trauma.
セルビアで性暴力被害者の支援活動をしているレパ証人は、責任者処罰がトラウマの減少や自尊心の回復に密接に結びついていると証言しました。マレーシアでも多くの慰安所が作られましたが、被害の事実を訴える人はまだ少なく、その一人がビデオ証言をしました。
3 o'clock in the morning. They come the lorry, you know, all closed. That cloth, that green cloth, all closed. They close your eyes first. They push you inside the car.
ペナン島出身のロザリンさんは、1943年に慰安所に連行され、日本兵の子供まで身ごもりました。ベッドに横たわったまま、服を着る暇もなく強姦され続けたといいます。
Morning 20 person, afternoon 20, at night 20, one day 60 men.
これはロザリンさんが慰安所の前で撮った写真です。右上に軍専用の看板が写っている貴重なものです。ハ・サンスクさんは1944年16歳の時、チュンチョン南道から中国武漢に連れて行かれ、漢光慰安所に入れられました。今も武漢で暮らしています。
감사합니다. 제11군 사령관이었던 피고인 오카무라 야스지는 위안부 제도를 이어왔다고 자백하고 있습니다.
岡村康次はハッサンスクさんがいた武漢一帯を占領した第11軍の司令官でした。彼は自分たちが慰安婦を連れ歩いたこと、目撃したことを書いています。また第11軍兵隊司令部の軍人の回想録には三聖楼という慰安所が記されています。
당시 제11군 사령관이었던 피고 오카무라 야스지에게 책임이 있다는 것을 명백히 알 수 있다고 생각합니다.
あなたは1940年11月に北品方面軍所属課の部隊に入隊されたわけです。はい、あなた自身が慰安所にですね、通い始めた、行くようになった時の体験をお話してください。
私が一番最初に慰安婦に入ったのは昭和18年でした。それは林政権というところにおった時です。私が初めて林政権の慰安婦、当時私たちは慰安婦と申しません。ピーやピーと言っとったんです。そこに参りました。
こうした慰安婦はですね、あなたの軍隊経験に対して 強姦を防止するためにですね、役立っていると思いますか？
役立っておりません。
それはなぜでしょうか？
私たちは1円5000円払うんだったならば、強姦とはタダですから。
あなた自身もそのような考えの中で、作戦の中で強姦に関わったことがあるんですか？
あります。昭和18年ですけども、作戦に参りました。その時に、あるグラフに出兵しました。その時に、私たちの同盟兵が一人の若い女性を連れてきました。21歳だと思います。それを6人の兵隊でくじ引きをして順番を決めて、そして一人一人その名を返還をいたしました。女の子は女を殺せ、子供を産むから殺せ、子供が大きくなったならば我々に反抗だから殺せというように上司の命令が変わったんです。そういうつもりですから、私たちはどうせ殺す女だったら自分の許しがわからない。ですからどんどん強姦してもいいというようなつもりで私たちは強姦をしました。
金子証人が追加の証言をしました。
先ほど強姦の問題が出ましたけれども、当時陸軍刑法ではやって7年以上、見ただけでも4年以上という刑罰があります。しかしながら、なぜ私たちが強姦やったのと申しますと、もちろん金の問題もありますけれども、当時現代では私たちは中国人と言っておりました。しかしあの頃はシナ人、あるいはもっと劣等視してチャンクロとこう言ってたんです。チャンクロの娘女をやるに何が悪いんだ、どっちに殺すんじゃないのか、こういうような私たちは気持ちを持って強姦。
In the early 1990s, Asian women began to break almost 5 decades of painful silence to demand apology and compensation for the atrocities they and others suffered under Japanese military sexual slavery during the war in the 1930s and 1940s in the Asia-Pacific region. The sexual slavery experienced by the women who testified supports a finding that it constitutes crimes against humanity. The system of abductions, transportation, rapes, and enslavement of the women were widespread or systematic. In conclusion, the judges find that the emperor knew or should have known about the crimes of sexual violence committed in Nanking, and that he knew or should have known about the establishment and operation of the system of comfort stations. The emperor failed to fulfill his duty, and as such is criminally liable for all of the charges lodged in the indictments with respect to the rape and sexual slavery committed by the Japanese military from 1937 until the end of the war.
In addition to the individual criminal liability of the Emperor Hirohito, the judges have determined that the state of Japan is responsible under international law for the offences presented in the indictments in accordance with Article 4 of the Charter of this tribunal. The tribunal notes that women, either as individuals or as a group, had no voice or status equal to men at the time of the conclusion of those peace treaties, with the direct consequence that issues of military sexual slavery and rape were inevitably left unaddressed at that time and formed no part to the background to the negotiations and the ultimate resolution of the peace treaties. The judges continue that such gender blindness in international peace processes contributes to the continuing culture of impunity for crimes perpetrated against women in armed conflict. As such, the tribunal finds that the individual victims of Japanese military sexual slavery have a right to claim compensation from the government of Japan.
Today, the judges have found Emperor Hirohito guilty of crimes against humanity.
会場の被害女性と傍聴人の 拍手と歓声は大変なものでした。戦後、日本社会の最大のタブーであった天皇の戦争責任が初めて断罪された瞬間でした。長い沈黙の末に、やっと日本軍性奴隷制の責任者が明らかにされたのです。
And the judges have found that the state of Japan bears state responsibility for the crimes committed against the comfort women and other crimes of sexual violence. The judges will now present their recommendations based upon the findings, and this will be the last section of the judgment. To fulfill its responsibility, the tribunal recommends that the government of Japan, 1, issue a full and frank apology, explicitly seeking the forgiveness of the government and taking legal responsibility and giving guarantees of non-repetition.
Take all necessary and appropriate measures to compensate the victims and survivors and those entitled to recover as a result of violations declared herein.
8. The tribunal further recommends that the former allied nations immediately declassify all military and governmental records concerning the establishment and the operation of the comfort system and the reasons why it was not prosecuted before the IMTFE.
The tribunal will now stand adjourned until March 8th.
判決の概要は読み上げるだけで2時間余りかかりました。天皇の個人責任と国家責任のみを認定しましたが、軍上層部の個人責任については日程を改めて最終判決で明らかにされます。
그럼 여기서 일본 내에 도마에까지 끌려갔던 증인 박용심 한 명이 주문을 들어보도록 하겠습니다.
1938년 3월 7일입니다. 일본 순사가 군복을 입고 긴 칼을 차고 나 양복동이라는 데서 나타났습니다. 저는 나에게 돈벌이가 많이 할 때인데 가장 간과하고 그래서 난 동의를 구해갔습니다.
パク・ヨンシムさんは南京、上海などを経てビルマの羅州や松山で慰安婦をさせられました。第56師団に同行させられたのです。
방금 비디오 주문을 하신 박용심 장관이가 현재 여기 와 계십니다. 박용심 장관을 여러분들에게 소개해드리겠습니다.
第56師団の歩兵の一人は写真の妊婦が若春だと証言しています。若春の本名はパク・ヨンシムだと書いている元兵士もいます。
이상에서 우리는 피해자 박용심이 최전선이었던 도마에까지 끌려가 일본군 손노의 생활을 강요당하였으면 이에 대한 책임이 당시 도마 방명군 제56사단 사단장이었던 기고 마츠야마 유조에게 있다는 것을 명백히 알 수 있습니다.
バン・アイカさんは中国で初めて名乗り出た日本軍による性暴力の被害者です。
191. Do you swear to tell the truth?
真的，这个窑洞是日本军人占领的地吗？我知道。来，当天你对几位日本兵进行强暴？好的，接下来就是我的好吗？进来有5、6个人，同时你在那儿又发生了什么事情？那就半个月2个。
山西省の村で 抗日副村長だった伴愛華さんは監禁された場所から3回逃げ出しましたが、その度に捕らえられました。
Necessary for them to testify so that we hear their stories and understand what has happened to them. But we understand also that it's very, very difficult. I want them to understand, as well as the other women who will come and testify, and understand that we appreciate your being.
日本軍が慰安所を設置した地域はどのような範囲に広がっていますでしょうか。
日本軍の占領地域のほぼ全てにわたって慰安所が設置されました。日本軍の将兵たちは治安の安定した都市部では慰安所に通いながら、他方では抗日勢力の強い地域に討伐作戦に出動した場合には住民虐殺など一連の残虐行為ともに強姦を行いました。
この公文書について承認はご説明になります。
これは海軍の慰安所のケース。海南島における慰安所の設置が1939年に日本軍が占領した後、陸軍、海軍、外務省の3つの省の連絡会議によって計画されました。1939年4月に台湾総督府の張高長から台湾拓殖会社の理事に対して90人の慰安婦を海南島に供給するように依頼がされました。日本軍による慰安所の展開も、軍が全面的に関わっただけではなく、国家ぐるみの行為、国家ぐるみの犯罪であったと結論を受けることができます。
あなたがですね、この戦争や作戦に関わる中でですね、強姦を目撃したり、あるいは自ら関わることはありました。軍隊では戦場では強姦はつきものでした。実情茶飯事と言っていいくらいやられておりました。私も一人で単独で女を探し回って一人の30歳ぐらいの女性を見つけ、7、8年の老婆が取り囲んでおったので、老婆を追い出してその女性を強姦しようと思いましたら、その女性は隠れてしまって見つからなかった。一生懸命探しましたところ、中国には豚小屋がございまして、豚小屋は便所を兼ねております。そしてそこへ隠れて彼女は衣服の底にお仏、大便をいっぱいなすりつけて、もうそばへも寄れないような格好をしておりました。私はその姿を見たときに逆に村上と入って両力を注ぎまして、悩み押し込めて強姦をしました。
円竹林さんは9歳の子供の母親でしたが、騙されて慰安所に入れられ妊娠してしまいました。
给我